everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing my March and April book wrap-up. I feel like I started this year off strong with quite a few books every month that I really enjoyed, but then life happened and I couldn't get to my books as quickly and as frequently as I would have liked. But here are the books and my thoughts of what I read. The first one was Love and Gelato, and when I saw this book I remembered the movie that I really liked. So it is about a girl, her mom died and she is going to Tuscany to meet her father, or not to meet her father. Spoiler alert. This is basically just her story and figuring out life. Where is she? What is she going to do with her future, and so on. And I will say that I don't want to really compare the movie and the book because it is actually two different stories for me. The story is a young adult romance, and what I did enjoy is that it's like a contemporary slash closed door type of romance, and also not just a relationship between a boy and a girl, but also the relationship of family and friends and the role that it plays in your life. So I gave Love and Gelato a 4 star. The next book that I read is Fatal Intrusion by Jeffrey and Isabella. So they co-wrote this mystery thriller book with a little bit of crime and suspense and detective and all the good things. I read this book as an arc. This story is about a detective trying to figure out who is this murderer that has been going through, I want to say, a spree of murders. Is it random or is it planned? Is there this, what is behind everything? Something that I did enjoy is the point of view of detective as well as murderer. That was quite interesting, seeing their point of views trying to chase one another. Also, I'm more a cozy mystery reader, so this was my first time dipping into the thriller action mystery type of book. And I will say, even though it was gory and like the psychology behind everything was like intense, it was on the borderline for me of me not wanting to finish it and read it, whereas I could not stop reading and trying to figure out what happened. So that was quite fun, intense but fun. But I will say the one thing that I did not enjoy was the fact that there was too many points of views. It got to a stage where I was not sure whose point of view we were having right now or where we were right now. So especially almost to the end, it got a little bit confusing for me. But I think if they only stuck to the point of view of the detective, the murderer, maybe the person that's being murdered, it feels so weird saying it that way, but the point of view maybe of that person, and then the guy that was working close to the detective, I think keeping those point of views would have been interesting, and if they just kept to that during the whole book. But yeah, there was a lot of point of views. So for that reason I gave it a 3 star. And also, is it just me? If you've read it, I almost want there to be a romance in the next book. My next book was Love in Tandem by Becca Kinzer. This is seen as a contemporary romance fiction, Christian romance type of story. What I enjoyed about it, it's not Christianese in your face. It's not faith in your face. It gets sprinkled through the story here and there, but I'll get into that now. So it is about a small town, a girl in a small town. She's really happy, she's not adventurous, whereas he is adventurous. He wants to see the world, just not be stuck in the small town. They get stuck together in a way to do a competition. Is it a competition? Isn't it a competition? Is it a life lesson? Isn't it? And what I enjoyed about it, it is not just your typical straightforward love story. Love is in the air, you know, all the good vibes. There is real conversations, real things happening, life things happening. And I think that is one of the reasons why I enjoyed this book so much. It shows you that being a Christian or having faith, believing in God, is not always sunshine and roses. It is, life still happens. The difference for me is the way that you deal it, the way that you still keep your faith and still believe in God and still look back at the hardships and still see God's hand and His faithfulness in all of it. So I gave it a 4 stars. Okay, the next arc that I read was The Seduction of Sunny Sinclair. I don't really know how to classify this book. Is it like a mystery? Is it just a general fiction? Is it a historical fiction? Yes. I'm not quite sure how to classify or what genre this really is, but it is set in the 1954s, and it is basically about this lady. She was an escort, and now she has a bar or manages a bar with the history or like current situations of criminal activity / people in her life that forms part of has criminal activity / it's about her friend that gets murdered, and she's like, this was not just a drowning, this was a murder. The police saying no, it was just a drowning. He was drunk and couldn't swim, and she's like, no. And yes, so if you've noticed, this was very confusing. Well, me trying to tell it was very confusing, and that's how I felt reading the book. I did enjoy the writer's way of writing, so his description of stuff and whatever was easy to read, but the story itself felt like it was 3 different stories, and then he took different parts of those 3 stories and made a new story. You get what I'm saying? I don't know. For that reason, I unfortunately gave it a 1 star. With the next book, I absolutely believe there are just certain books that when you read it at certain times in your life, it does have an impact, or there's a reason why, for some other reason, today you decided to read that certain book. My Jesus, From Heartache to Hope by Ann Wilson, the singer. So I know the song, I love the song, My Jesus, and then I saw this book. And she wrote this actually quite a few years ago. It is about the story of when her brother died, her and her family's grieving process and everything that happened right after to a few years after, and where she's now. So from heartache to hope. And again, like I started saying, it is just very interesting to me how sometimes I want to say the right books chooses you, or you choose it at the right time. So day after I started reading this book, my aunt actually passed away, and reading her grieving story and what she went through was exactly what we were going through. So when she wrote and spoke about the funeral, we were busy getting ready for the funeral. With that being said, I really feel weird to rate or give a rating to someone else's life story. It does not feel fair for me to judge it. With stories like this, I do give it 5 stars because that is your story and that's your opinion and your growth path. Yeah, sometimes it's just interesting and sometimes you get to learn something out of it. The next and final one is Finding Love in Micklewick Bay. That's a tongue twister, by Eliza J. Scott, and it is about women, again, in a small town. If you haven't guessed it, I really like stories set in small towns, but it's in a small town in London, and she's a lawyer and she grew up with a single mother. So it's a little bit the story of how that happened and why. So her actually figuring some stuff out or finding some stuff out, also while meeting a guy falling head over heels. So yes, this is a romance. I would also classify this as a closed door romance. It's just her going through, I want to say, the process, but also learning to, it's okay to love someone and to make them a part of your life, as she grew up with her mom telling her, don't fall in love with a man, he's not worth it, he's just going to leave you, blah de blah de blah. So with that, and her being a lawyer, you know, that very strong-willed personality, and then meeting this guy that's just like, I like you and I want to spend time with you, and it is what it is. And I actually gave it a 4 stars. So this was my 2 months of reading. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know what you are currently reading, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!